Captain Marcus Chen moved carefully through the dark corridors of the abandoned cargo ship. His team followed behind him, their weapons ready. The silence felt heavy and wrong. 3 ships had gone missing in this sector over the past month. Each time the cargo was stolen and the crews were never found. "Heat signatures ahead," whispered Sergeant Rodriguez through the comm. 2 levels down, main cargo bay. Marcus nodded to his team. They had been tracking this raider ship for 6 hours through the asteroid field. The ship was old, built for speed rather than comfort. Strange symbols covered the walls. Nothing like any human writing he had seen before. "Stay alert," Marcus said quietly. "We don't know what we're dealing with." They reached the cargo bay and stopped. The doors were already open. Inside, they could see movement. Something large shifted in the shadows between the stolen cargo containers. Marcus held up his hand, signaling his team to wait. A figure stepped into the light and Marcus felt his breath catch. It was definitely not human. The creature stood over 7 feet tall, covered in dark green scales that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. It wore armor that looked both ancient and deadly. Long claws extended from its fingers and yellow eyes glowed as they focused on the human team. Zephyrian warrior. Dr. Webb had told him about these creatures during his briefings. They come from a warrior culture. Very dangerous in combat. The alien held a weapon that hummed with energy. Behind it, Marcus could see bodies of what looked like other aliens scattered around the cargo bay. This creature had been in a fight recently. "Humans," the alien said in accented but clear English. The voice was female, Marcus realized. "You are far from your little colonies." "We're here about the stolen cargo," Marcus said, keeping his weapon trained on her. "And the missing crews." The alien laughed, but it sounded bitter. "Your people were weak. They begged before they died. Just like all the soft species in this galaxy." "Where are they?" Marcus demanded. "Dead. Fed to space." She raised her weapon. "You will join them, little human." The fight was brief but intense. The Zephyrian was fast and strong, but Marcus had trained for situations like this. While she focused on him, Rodriguez and the others moved to flank her. When she lunged at Marcus with her claws, he rolled aside and fired his stunner at full power. The alien stumbled but didn't fall. She spun around to attack Rodriguez, but Marcus was ready. He tackled her from behind, using her own momentum against her. They crashed into a cargo container, and her weapon skittered across the floor. She was still dangerous without it. Her claws raked across Marcus's armor as they fought, but Marcus had something she didn't expect. He fought as part of a team. While she focused on him, Rodriguez grabbed her weapon. Webb hit her with another stunner blast from the side. Finally, the alien warrior went down, breathing hard but conscious. Marcus stood over her, his own weapon pointed at her head. She looked up at him with those strange yellow eyes, and he saw something unexpected there. Not just anger or hatred, but surprise. "Finish it," she said. "Do not drag out my death." Marcus hesitated. "We don't kill prisoners." She stared at him like he had spoken in an alien language. "What? You're our prisoner. We'll take you back to the station for questioning." The alien tried to sit up, but the stunner blasts had weakened her. "No. I am Cassandra of the Zephyrian warrior caste. I do not surrender. I do not become prisoner." "Well, you just did," Rodriguez said. Cassandra looked around the cargo bay. Her eyes stopped on the bodies of the other aliens. "My crew is dead. My ship is damaged. I have failed my mission." She looked back at Marcus. "In my culture, failure means death. If you will not grant me warrior's death, then—" She paused as if struggling with words. "Then what?" Marcus asked. Cassandra dropped to her knees. The proud warrior suddenly looked smaller, more vulnerable. "I have heard stories about your species, about your customs. If you will not slay me, then I offer myself. I will warm your bed, human. I will serve you in whatever way you require." Marcus almost dropped his weapon. "What?" "Do not kill me," she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "I will be your mate slave. I will give you pleasure and obey your commands. This is better than the dishonor of execution." The cargo bay fell silent. Marcus looked at his team, who seemed just as confused as he was. Dr. Webb stepped forward. "I think there's been a misunderstanding," Webb said gently. "Captain Chen, I believe she's operating under some incorrect assumptions about human culture." Marcus lowered his weapon completely. "Look, Cassandra, right? We're not going to kill you, and we're certainly not going to do what you're suggesting. You're our prisoner, which means you have rights under our laws. Cassandra looked up at him with confusion clear on her alien features. Rights? Medical care, food, legal representation. A fair trial. I do not understand these words. Webb knelt down beside the alien warrior. In human society, even enemies are treated with basic dignity. We have rules about how prisoners must be cared for. But I attacked your ships. I killed your people. And you'll face justice for that, Marcus said. But that doesn't mean we torture you or treat you like an animal. Cassandra shook her head slowly. This makes no sense. You have defeated me. I am yours to do with as you wish. That is the way of things. Not our way, Marcus said firmly. He held out his hand to help her up. Come on. Let's get you to the medical bay. She stared at his outstretched hand like it might be a trap. You would help me stand? You're injured, but I am your enemy. You're our prisoner, Marcus corrected. And prisoners get medical care. Slowly, carefully, Cassandra reached out and took his hand. Marcus helped her to her feet. She was heavier than she looked, and he could feel the alien warmth of her skin through her scales. I do not understand your species, she said as they walked toward the exit. Join the club, Rodriguez muttered. Half the time we don't understand ourselves. As they made their way back to their ship, Marcus found himself thinking about what Cassandra had said. She really believed that defeat meant death or slavery. In her mind, offering to be his bed warmer was probably the most logical response to the situation. But what did that say about the rest of the galaxy? If other species saw humans as weak, if they expected humans to behave like conquerors and slavers, then maybe first contact wasn't going as well as Earth's diplomats thought. Captain, Webb said quietly as they reached their ship, I think we need to have a very long conversation with our new prisoner. She might be able to tell us things about galactic politics that our regular diplomatic channels haven't revealed. Marcus nodded. Agreed, but first medical bay, then a cell with proper security. And then? Rodriguez asked. Marcus looked back at Cassandra, who was staring around their ship with wide eyes, as if she couldn't believe how clean and well-maintained it was. Then we figure out what the hell is really going on out here. The medical bay on Kepler 7 station was quiet except for the soft beeping of monitors. Dr. Sarah Webb finished her examination of their alien prisoner and stepped back, reviewing her readings on the tablet. Fascinating, she murmured. Her physiology is built for combat, but there are some surprising elements. Captain Marcus Chen stood nearby, watching as Cassandra sat on the medical bed. The Zephyrian warrior had been cooperative during the examination, though she kept staring at everything with obvious confusion. What kind of surprising elements? Marcus asked. Her brain chemistry shows markers for what we might call pack bonding, very strong loyalty responses once certain triggers are activated. It's like her species evolved from pack hunters who needed absolute loyalty to survive. Cassandra turned her yellow eyes toward them. You speak as if I cannot hear you. Sorry, Webb said. I was just explaining your biology to the captain. My biology belongs to you now, Cassandra said matter-of-factly, as does the rest of me. When do I begin my duties? Marcus felt a headache coming on. They had been having variations of this conversation for 3 days now. You don't have duties. You're a prisoner awaiting trial. I do not understand this word, trial. Webb pulled up a chair and sat down facing Cassandra. In human society, when someone is accused of a crime, they get a chance to tell their side of the story. A group of neutral people listen to the evidence and decide if the person is guilty. And if they decide I am guilty, then you face punishment appropriate to the crime, Marcus said. Death. Probably prison time and restitution. Cassandra tilted her head. Prison time? You would be confined but kept alive. Fed, housed, given medical care, eventually released. The alien warrior was quiet for a long moment. Your species is very strange. In my culture, there is only strong and weak. The strong take what they want. The weak serve or die. What about justice? Webb asked. Justice is what the strong decide it is. Marcus felt a chill. Is that how most species in the galaxy think? Of course. The Krell Dominion conquers weaker worlds and enslaves the populations. The Thakari Consortium controls trade through force and intimidation. The Morgoth Collective simply destroys any species that might become a threat. She looked at him curiously. What do humans do? We try to trade peacefully. We offer mutual defense agreements. We share technology. And the other species, They accept this? Marcus and Webb exchanged glances. Most of the time, Cassandra laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. They think you are weak. They take your offers of friendship as signs that you can be easily conquered. But we've been having successful diplomatic contact for over a decade, Webb protested. Have you, or have they simply been waiting for the right moment to strike? The implications of that question hung in the air. Marcus had always wondered why Earth's colonies seemed to face so many random pirate attacks. Maybe they weren't so random after all. A soft chime announced someone at the door. Come in, Marcus called. Ensign Thompson entered carrying a food tray. Lunch for the prisoner, sir. Cassandra immediately dropped to her knees on the floor. I will serve you your meal, Master Marcus. Thompson nearly dropped the tray. Sir? She's confused about human customs, Marcus said tiredly. Just set the tray down and go. Thompson left quickly. Cassandra remained on her knees, looking expectant. The food is for you, Marcus said. But you have not eaten. I'll eat later in the mess hall. Then I will serve you there. Marcus sat down on the chair Webb had vacated. Cassandra, you are not my servant. You are not my slave. You are not my anything. You are a prisoner. But you spared my life. Because that's what humans do. No. She shook her head firmly. I have studied your species during my travels. I know about your warriors. They are soft. They weep for their enemies. They show mercy to those who would kill them. She looked directly at him. But you are different. You defeated me in combat. You could have killed me easily. You chose not to. That makes you my master. That makes me someone who doesn't murder prisoners. Cassandra stood up and approached him. Marcus tensed, but she simply knelt down beside his chair. In my culture, when a warrior is defeated but spared, it creates a bond. I am oath-bound to serve whoever showed me mercy. It is the only way to restore honor after failure. Webb leaned forward. What if we told you that you don't need to restore honor? That failure doesn't require punishment? The alien warrior looked at her with something like pity. You truly do not understand. Honor is everything. Without it, a Zephyrian is nothing. Less than nothing. Then what would restore your honor? Marcus asked. Faithful service to my master. Protecting what is his. Dying for him if necessary. She looked up at Marcus. I offered to warm your bed because I thought that was what human males valued most. But I see now that you value different things. What do I value? Safety of your people. Success of your missions. Protection of the weak, she paused. These are good values for a master to have. Marcus felt like they were going in circles. I'm not your master. Then what are you? He thought about it. I'm the person responsible for keeping you secure until your trial. So you are my keeper. I guess. Then I will serve my keeper faithfully. Before Marcus could protest, Cassandra stood and moved to the food tray. She picked it up and brought it to him. You should eat, she said. You have been working long hours and your body requires fuel. The food is for you. I will eat after you have been fed. She held the tray firmly. This is how things should be. Marcus looked at Webb, who shrugged. Maybe we should try a different approach. Cassandra, what if Captain Chen ordered you to eat first? The alien warrior considered this. If my keeper commands it, I must obey. Fine, Marcus said with exasperation. I order you to eat your lunch. Yes, Keeper Marcus. She sat down on the floor and began eating with obvious relish. Webb pulled Marcus aside. This could actually work in our favor. If she's truly bonded to you, she might be willing to answer questions about galactic politics. I don't want a bonded alien warrior, but you might need one. If she's right about how other species view humans, we could be in serious trouble. Marcus watched Cassandra eat. She was neat and efficient, but she kept glancing up at him as if checking for approval. Cassandra, he said, tell me about the other attacks on human ships. She swallowed and looked up. Most were tests, young warriors proving themselves against easy targets. But she hesitated, somewhat. Some were scouting missions, learning your defenses, your patrol routes, your response times. Webb paled. Scouting for what? Larger operations. The Krell have been planning something for cycles. They see your expansion into their territory as a challenge that must be answered. Marcus felt his blood run cold. What kind of larger operations? The kind that end with human colonies burning and human children in Krell slave markets. The medical bay fell silent. Finally, Marcus spoke. How long do we have? Not long, Cassandra said quietly. The scouting is nearly complete. Soon they will come in force. Marcus looked at Webb. We need to contact Fleet Command immediately. Yes, sir. As Webb left to send the message, Marcus looked down at Cassandra, who had finished eating and was now kneeling beside his chair again. Why are you telling us this? Because you are my keeper. Your survival is now my purpose. She looked up at him with those strange yellow eyes, and because I am beginning to think that perhaps there is a different way to live than what I was taught. The alarms on Kepler 7 station screamed through the corridors like angry metal birds. Marcus ran toward the command center, his boots echoing against the floor. Behind him, he could hear the heavy footsteps of Cassandra following. She had insisted on accompanying him despite still being technically a prisoner. Report, Marcus shouted as he burst into the command center. Lieutenant Commander Torres looked up from her console, her face grim. 12 ships just dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Krell-designed military configuration. Marcus felt his stomach drop. Cassandra had warned them this might happen, but he had hoped they would have more time to prepare. How long until they reach us? 2 hours, maybe less. What's our defensive status? Torres grimaced. Not good, sir. We have the station's defensive batteries and 2 patrol ships. The nearest fleet units are 6 hours away. Cassandra stepped forward. Keeper Marcus, may I see their formation? Torres looked at Marcus questioningly. He nodded, and she brought up the tactical display on the main screen. Cassandra studied it for a moment, her yellow eyes moving across the data. This is a standard Krell raiding formation, she said. 12 heavy assault ships probably carrying 200 warriors each. They plan to board the station and take slaves, not destroy it completely. How do you know? Torres asked. Because I have fought alongside them before. Cassandra's voice was quiet. Before I came to understand that there might be a better way. Marcus made a decision that he knew would either save them all or get them killed. Torres, release Cassandra from detention. Full access to the command center. Sir, are you sure about that? No, but we need every advantage we can get. He turned to Cassandra. You know how they fight. Help us. Cassandra straightened, and for a moment Marcus saw the deadly warrior she truly was. I am at your service, Keeper Marcus. The next hour passed in a blur of preparation. Marcus had everyone who could hold a weapon armed and ready. The civilians were moved to the most secure sections of the station. Emergency bulkheads were sealed, and defensive positions were established at key choke points. Cassandra proved invaluable. She knew Krell tactics, their preferred boarding points, even the layout of their ships. But more than that, she seemed to understand something about combat that the humans were missing. You fight as individuals, she told a group of security officers. Each person trying to be a hero. The Krell will use this against you. They will make you angry, make you charge at them alone. So what do we do? Asked Sergeant Rodriguez. You fight as a pack. Watch each other's backs. Support each other. The Krell are stronger than you individually, but they do not work together well. Their culture values personal glory too much. Dr. Webb had taken charge of the medical bay, preparing for casualties. What about their weapons? She asked Cassandra. Energy weapons mostly. They will try to stun rather than kill at first. Dead slaves are worthless. Cassandra paused. But if they meet serious resistance, they will switch to lethal force quickly. The Krell ships arrived exactly when predicted. Marcus watched on the main screen as they moved into attack formation. They were ugly ships, all angles and weapon ports, built for intimidation as much as effectiveness. Incoming transmission, Torres reported. Put it through. The main screen flickered, and a Krell face appeared. The creature looked like a cross between a lizard and a rhino, with thick gray skin and small, cruel eyes. When it spoke, its voice was a deep rumble. Human station, you will surrender immediately. Lower your shields and prepare to be boarded. Resist, and we will sell your children to the Morgoth flesh markets. Marcus stepped forward. This is Captain Chen of Kepler 7 station. You are in human space without authorization. Leave immediately or face the consequences. The Krell laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Consequences? From weak little humans? We have studied your species. You are soft. You hesitate. You show mercy to enemies. The alien's eyes narrowed. These weaknesses will be your destruction. Maybe, Marcus said calmly. But you'll have to prove it. He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. Battle stations. All defensive systems online. The attack came fast and brutal. The Krell ships opened fire with everything they had, trying to overwhelm the station's shields quickly. The defensive batteries returned fire, but they were vastly outnumbered. Shields down to 60%, Torres reported. Focusing fire on their lead ship, called out Ensign Park from the weapons station. Marcus watched as their concentrated fire struck one of the Krell vessels. The ship's shields flared and died, and the hull began venting atmosphere. They're breaking off their attack run, Torres said with surprise. Cassandra nodded approvingly. Good, you hurt them quickly. Now they will be more cautious. But the Krell adapted faster than Marcus had hoped. Instead of another frontal assault, they split into groups and attacked from multiple directions. The station's guns couldn't cover all angles at once. Boarding pods launched, Torres announced. Multiple contacts incoming. Here we go, Marcus muttered. He grabbed his rifle and checked the charge. Cassandra, you're with me. Where are you going? Torres asked. To meet our guests. The first boarding pod hit near the cargo bay where they had first captured Cassandra. Marcus led a team of 12 security officers toward the breach, with Cassandra moving beside him like a deadly shadow. They could hear the cutting tools before they saw the first Krell warriors. The aliens were big, even bigger than Cassandra, and they moved with the confidence of predators who had never met serious resistance. Remember what Cassandra taught you, Marcus said quietly into his comm. Stay together, watch your crossfire, and don't let them make you angry. The first Krell through the breach was carrying a massive energy weapon. He looked around the corridor with obvious contempt, expecting to see cowering humans. Instead, he found himself facing a coordinated defensive position. Marcus didn't give him time to react. Fire! The concentrated volley from 12 human weapons dropped the Krell warrior instantly. His companions pushed through behind him, but they found themselves caught in a crossfire from 3 different positions. What followed was nothing like the one-sided slaughter the Krell had expected. The humans fought with discipline and coordination that surprised their attackers. When one position was threatened, the others provided covering fire. When someone was wounded, their teammates pulled them to safety while maintaining the defense. Cassandra moved through the battle like a force of nature. But instead of fighting alone as she had been trained, she worked with the humans around her. She watched their backs, warned them of threats they couldn't see, and used her superior strength to handle the heaviest fighting. Behind you, Rodriguez, she called out, spinning to strike down a Krell warrior who had tried to flank the sergeant. Thanks. Rodriguez gasped, then returned the favor by putting 3 shots into a Krell who was charging at Cassandra. The aliens were strong and well-armed, but they were used to fighting enemies who broke and ran at the first sign of trouble. The disciplined human resistance confused and frustrated them. Instead of the quick victory they expected, they found themselves in a grinding battle of attrition. Fall back to checkpoint 2, Marcus ordered as more Krell poured through the breach. The retreat was as organized as the defense had been. The humans moved in sections, with one group providing cover while another repositioned. Cassandra helped coordinate the movement, her knowledge of Krell tactics allowing her to predict their next moves. They will try to cut us off at the next junction, she warned. Park, Thompson, take the service tunnel and get behind them, Marcus ordered. The ambush worked perfectly. The Krell warriors charged around the corner expecting to trap the retreating humans, only to find themselves caught between 2 groups of defenders. As the battle raged through the station, something strange began to happen. The humans weren't just holding their ground, they were winning. Their teamwork and tactics were proving superior to Krell individual strength and aggression. In the command center, Torres watched the tactical display with growing amazement. Sir, they're actually pulling back. The Krell are retreating to their boarding pods. Over the comm, Marcus's voice was tired but triumphant. Confirmed. We've pushed them out of sections 7 through 12. Casualties are lighter than expected. Dr. Webb's voice joined the conversation from the medical bay. I've got wounded coming in, but nothing critical. Whatever you're doing out there, keep it up. The final Krell assault came 2 hours later. Frustrated by their failures, they threw everything they had at the station's main docking bay. But by then, the defenders were ready for them. Marcus watched from cover as Cassandra coordinated the defense with calm efficiency. She had taken everything the humans had taught her about teamwork and combined it with her warrior's instincts. The result was devastating to the attacking Krell. Covering fire, Sector 3, she called out. Rodriguez, move your team left. Park, hold position and wait for my signal. The Krell never made it past the docking bay. Faced with losses they hadn't expected, and resistance that seemed to grow stronger with each assault, their commander finally gave the order to withdraw. As the alien ships disappeared into hyperspace, Marcus found himself sitting on the deck of the docking bay, exhausted but alive. News of the Krell defeat at Kepler 7 spread through the galaxy faster than Marcus had expected. Within 2 weeks, every major trade route was buzzing with stories of how a small human station had not only survived a Krell raid, but had actually driven the attackers away. Marcus stood in his office, reading the latest intelligence reports from Fleet Command. The implications were both encouraging and worrying. The Thakari Consortium has requested a meeting, he told Dr. Webb, who was reviewing Cassandra's latest psychological evaluation. They want to discuss mutual security arrangements. Webb looked up from her tablet. That's a change. Last month they were charging us triple rates for passage through their space, and the Morgoth Collective has stopped their advance toward the Centauri colonies. Apparently they're reassessing the strategic situation. A soft knock at the door interrupted them. Come in, Marcus called. Cassandra entered, carrying a datapad and moving with the quiet confidence she had developed over the past weeks. She no longer dropped to her knees when she saw him, though she still maintained a formal respect that Marcus found both touching and unnecessary. The morning security briefing is ready, Captain, she said, handing him the pad. Marcus had officially appointed her as a security consultant after the Krell attack. It had taken some negotiating with Fleet Command, but the results spoke for themselves. Under her guidance, station security had improved dramatically. What's the situation with the new arrivals? Marcus asked. 3 more ships requesting asylum in the past day. 2 from Zephyrian space, 1 from the Krell Dominion. Cassandra's expression was troubled. They're all asking the same questions about human justice and protection. Webb leaned forward. What kind of questions? Whether it is true that humans treat prisoners with dignity. Whether human leaders can be trusted to keep their word. Whether it is possible to live without fear of being enslaved or killed for showing weakness. Marcus felt a weight settling on his shoulders. How many does that make total? 47 beings from 12 different species, all seeking sanctuary in human space. Cassandra sat down carefully in the chair across from his desk. Captain, I think you should know that this is causing significant concern among the major powers. What kind of concern? The kind that leads to demands and ultimatums. She handed him another datapad. This message arrived an hour ago. Marcus read the transmission and his blood ran cold. It was from the Zephyrian High Command, written in formal diplomatic language that barely concealed the threat beneath. They want you back, he said to Cassandra. For reconditioning, to remove the contamination of human ideas. Her voice was steady, but Marcus could see the fear in her yellow eyes. They say that if I am not returned within 10 standard days, they will consider it an act of aggression by the human government. Webb stood up abruptly. They can't be serious. You chose to stay here. You have the right to asylum. Rights are a human concept, Dr. Webb. In Zephyrian culture, I am property of the state. My personal desires are irrelevant. Marcus set down the datapad and looked at Cassandra. Over the past weeks, he had watched her transform from a confused and desperate warrior into something he had never expected. A friend. She had learned to laugh at human jokes, to appreciate the way his crew worked together, to understand concepts like trust and voluntary cooperation. What do you want to do? He asked quietly. I want to stay, she said immediately, but I do not wish to cause a war between our peoples. Let me worry about the politics, Marcus said. The question is, do you truly want to stay or do you feel obligated because of this bonding thing? Cassandra was quiet for a long moment. When I first offered to serve you, it was out of desperation and cultural conditioning. I thought that serving a master was the only way to survive with honor after defeat. And now? Now I understand that you were never my master. You were the first person to show me that there was another way to live, a way where strength comes from working together rather than dominating others. She looked directly at him. I do not stay because I am bonded to you, Captain. I stay because I choose to. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. The formal distance he had tried to maintain between them suddenly seemed artificial and unnecessary. Then you'll stay, he said firmly. I'll handle the Zephyrians. The response from Fleet Command came 6 hours later. Admiral Harrison's face appeared on the secure communication channel, and her expression was grim. Captain Chen, I hope you understand the position you've put us in. The Zephyrian Empire is one of the major galactic powers. We can't afford to antagonize them over one individual. With respect, Admiral, this isn't about one individual. It's about a fundamental principle. Do we believe in the rights of sentient beings to choose their own destinies, or don't we? Pretty words, Captain, but politics is about compromise. The Zephyrians are offering a significant trade agreement in exchange for returning their warrior. Think about what that could mean for the colonies. Marcus felt anger building in his chest. And what does it mean if we establish the precedent that we'll trade away asylum seekers for economic benefits? How many of those 47 refugees in our space will trust us again? That's not your concern, Captain. Your orders are to prepare Cassandra for transfer to Zephyrian custody within 72 hours. The transmission ended, leaving Marcus staring at a blank screen. He became aware that Cassandra and Webb were both watching him. I heard, Cassandra said quietly. It is as I expected. I will prepare for departure. No, Marcus said firmly. You won't, Webb looked alarmed. Marcus, you can't disobey a direct order from Fleet Command. Watch me. Over the next 2 days, Marcus found himself in a series of increasingly tense communications with his superiors. But he also discovered something that surprised him. He wasn't alone in his position. Commander Torres was the first to approach him. Sir, the crew has been talking. We want you to know that we support your decision about Cassandra. This could end all our careers, Marcus warned. Maybe. But some things are more important than careers. Similar conversations happened throughout the station. Dr. Webb organized a petition among the civilian scientists. The security team made it clear that they considered Cassandra one of their own. Even the refugees who had sought sanctuary expressed their willingness to leave if it would help protect her. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Ensign Park, who had been monitoring communications traffic, approached Marcus with a puzzled expression. Sir, you need to see this. I've been tracking diplomatic chatter from other species, and something strange is happening. Marcus looked at the data Park had compiled. What am I looking at? Trade negotiations, security agreements, diplomatic exchanges, all with human colonies and outposts. In the past 2 weeks, we've received more serious diplomatic overtures than in the previous 2 years combined. Dr. Webb studied the information. It's like they're all suddenly interested in working with us instead of just tolerating us. Cassandra nodded slowly. They are reconsidering their assumptions about human weakness. Your defense of this station, your treatment of refugees, your willingness to stand up for principles even at personal cost, these actions are changing how other species see humanity. But the Zephyrians still want you back. The Zephyrian High Command wants me back. But I have been monitoring communications from my homeworld. There are others among my people who are asking questions about the old ways. Warriors who are tired of a culture based only on domination and fear. Marcus made his decision. He opened a channel to Fleet Command, knowing it might be the last official communication of his career. Admiral Harrison, this is Captain Chen. I am formally requesting that Fleet Command recognize the asylum applications of all refugees currently in human space, including Cassandra of Zephyr. Furthermore, I am recommending that we establish a formal policy of protection for any being seeking freedom from oppression. The Admiral's face appeared on screen, and she looked tired. Captain, the political pressure to resolve this situation is enormous. The Zephyrians are threatening economic sanctions. Admiral, respectfully, I think we're looking at this wrong. The Zephyrians need this precedent to fail because they're afraid of what it represents. But look at the broader pattern. Other species are reaching out to us precisely because we're showing that there's an alternative to the old ways of doing things. He transmitted Park's data. We're not just dealing with one asylum case. We're potentially reshaping galactic politics. The question is, do we want to be the species that stands for something or the one that compromises away its values for short-term gain? Admiral Harrison was quiet for a long time, studying the information. Finally, she spoke. Captain Chen, Fleet Command has reviewed your request and the supporting data. We are implementing Policy Directive 2847 Sanctuary Protocol. Any being seeking asylum from persecution will be granted protection in human space, provided they commit to abiding by human laws and principles. Marcus felt relief wash over him. And the Zephyrian demands? Will be politely declined. were prepared to face the consequences. After the transmission ended, Marcus found himself alone with Cassandra in his office. She was looking out the observation window at the stars beyond. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the main conference room of what had once been Kepler-7 mining station. Now it served as the headquarters for something much more significant, the Galactic Sanctuary Council. Representatives from 18 different species sat around the curved table, their various forms of communication filling the air with a mixture of sounds, lights, and electromagnetic pulses. Cassandra moved through the room with quiet efficiency, helping coordinate the translation systems and ensuring that all the delegates' needs were met. She had become the Council's Chief of Cultural Affairs, a position that seemed to have been created specifically for her unique background and abilities. The Morgoth Collective has agreed to the ceasefire, announced Delegate Thrix, whose crystalline form chimed softly as it spoke. Their expansion into the Outer Rim territories will halt immediately. A murmur of satisfaction went through the assembled delegates. The Morgoth had been one of the most aggressive species in the galaxy, known for destroying entire civilizations that they deemed potential threats. Their agreement to negotiate rather than simply attack was a major breakthrough. What changed their minds? Asked Representative Zalak of the Thackeray Consortium. The insectoid alien's antennae twitched with curiosity. Cassandra stepped forward. They have been observing the success of our refugee integration programs. 17 former Morgoth slave worlds have petitioned to join the sanctuary territories, bringing with them significant industrial capacity. The collective leadership has concluded that cooperation may be more profitable than conquest. Dr. Webb, now serving as the Council's Chief Science Officer, brought up a holographic display showing the current political map of the galaxy. Large sections that had once been marked in the red of hostile territory now showed the blue of neutral or allied space. The numbers speak for themselves, she said. Trade between sanctuary worlds has increased by 400%. Scientific research collaborations have led to breakthroughs in medical technology, energy production, and space travel. Even species that haven't formally joined the Council are beginning to adopt our conflict resolution protocols. Marcus watched the proceedings with a mixture of pride and amazement. When he had first refused to hand over Cassandra to the Zephyrians, he had expected to face court-martial and disgrace. Instead, he had found himself at the center of the most significant political transformation in galactic history. The door chimed, and Admiral Harrison entered the conference room. She had arrived that morning for the formal signing of the Treaty of Cooperation, which would establish permanent diplomatic relations between Earth and the Council. "How are the negotiations proceeding?" she asked Marcus quietly. "Better than expected. The Krell Dominion is actually considering joining as associate members." Admiral Harrison raised an eyebrow. "The same Krell who attacked the station 6 months ago?" "The same. It turns out that their warrior culture isn't that different from the Zephyrians. They respect strength, but they're beginning to understand that there are different kinds of strength." As if summoned by their conversation, a new figure entered the room. War leader Grothan of the Krell was massive even by his species standards, but he moved with the careful dignity of someone trying to make a good impression. Behind him walked a smaller figure that Marcus recognized with surprise. Commander Kesseral? Marcus stood and approached the newcomer. The young Zephyrian warrior looked nervous but determined. "Captain Chen," she said, offering the human-style salute that had become standard among Council forces. "I bring greetings from the Zephyrian Resistance Council." Cassandra moved to stand beside Marcus, her expression carefully neutral. "Sister," she said in their native language. "Sister," Kesseral replied. "The old Council branded you as traitor and exile. The new Council recognizes you as pioneer and hero." The implications of that statement sent a ripple of excitement through the room. The Zephyrian Empire had been one of the most rigid hierarchical societies in the galaxy. If they were undergoing internal reform, it would change everything. "What happened?" Cassandra asked. Kesseral smiled, an expression that looked strange on her predatory features. "You happened. Stories of your transformation, of humans who fought alongside Zephyrian warriors as equals, of leaders who showed strength through protection rather than domination. These stories spread among the young warriors. We began to ask questions that had never been asked before. And the High Command? Removed from power by popular uprising 3 cycles ago. The new government is based on principles of merit and consent rather than pure dominance." Kesseral looked around the room at the various alien delegates. We wish to join this council if you will have us. The vote was unanimous. As the formal ceremonies concluded and the delegates began to disperse, Marcus found himself alone with Cassandra on the observation deck, where they had stood so many months before. The view outside had changed dramatically. Where once there had been only empty space and distant asteroids, now there was a bustling hub of activity. Ships from dozens of species came and went, carrying trade goods, passengers, and cultural exchanges. "Do you ever miss the simple days?" Cassandra asked. "When it was just us trying to figure out how to communicate?" Marcus laughed. "Sometimes. Though I have to admit, watching you negotiate a trade dispute between the Morgoth and the Thakari, while simultaneously training new security recruits is pretty impressive." "I learned from watching you," she said. "You showed me that true leadership means helping others become stronger, not keeping them weak so you can control them." They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching the ships move through space. Their relationship had evolved over the months into something that defied easy categorization. They were friends, partners, colleagues, and something more that neither of them had quite figured out how to name. "Marcus," Cassandra said finally, "there is something I need to tell you." "What is it?" "The bonding I spoke of when we first met, the biochemical response that made me feel compelled to serve you. It faded months ago." Marcus turned to look at her, surprised. "When?" "Around the time you risked your career to protect me from the Zephyrian demands. That act of selfless courage triggered a different response in my brain chemistry, the pack bonding that Dr. Webb identified but freely chosen rather than compelled." "And that means?" Cassandra moved closer to him, her alien features soft in the starlight. "It means that everything I have done since then, every choice I have made to stay at your side and work toward our shared goals, has been because I wanted to. Not because of biology or cultural conditioning, but because I chose you as my partner." Marcus felt his heart start beating faster. "Partner? In whatever way you will have me. As a colleague, as a friend, as something more if you desire it." She looked directly into his eyes. "I know that our species are different, that there are complications and challenges we would face. But I also know that we have already accomplished the impossible together. Perhaps we could continue to do so?" Marcus reached out and took her scaled hand in his human one. The gesture that had once been so alien now felt completely natural. "I think I'd like that," he said. A soft chime from his communicator interrupted the moment. "Captain Chen to the communication center," came Torres's voice. "We're receiving a priority transmission from an unknown ship." Marcus sighed. "Duty calls, together?" Cassandra asked. "Together." They made their way to the communication center where Torres was working frantically at her console. "Sir, you need to see this." The ship just appeared at the edge of the system. No hyperspace signature, no engine trail. It's like it just materialized. The main screen activated, showing a vessel unlike anything Marcus had ever seen. It was clearly artificial, but the design principles seemed completely alien to anything in the known galaxy. "Are they responding to hails?" Marcus asked. "Yes, sir. Audio only. The voice is, strange." "Put it through." A sound filled the communication center that was unlike any language Marcus had heard. It was musical and complex, with harmonics that seemed to resonate in his bones. But somehow, impossibly, he found that he could understand it. "Greetings, architects of cooperation. We are the eldest, observers of the young species who fill this galaxy. We have watched your recent activities with great interest." Torres looked at her instruments with confusion. "Sir, they're not using any translation technology that I can detect." "Somehow their language is being understood directly by our brains. For 10,000 cycles we have waited," the voice continued, "waited for a species to arise that could move beyond the patterns of dominance and submission that have trapped this galaxy in endless cycles of war and oppression. You humans, working with your allies, have begun to show a different path." Cassandra stepped forward. "You have been watching us?" "We have been watching all species, young warrior of Zephyr. Most follow the same destructive patterns. Conquest, exploitation, collapse, extinction. A few, like your new alliance, choose cooperation and growth." Marcus felt a chill of anticipation. "What do you want from us?" "Nothing. But we offer something to you. Knowledge, technology, guidance, the wisdom of species who learned these same lessons long ago." The voice paused. "If you wish it." The communication center fell silent except for the hum of electronics.